Hi everyone, this is Diana on Alpha 7 Media News Channel. You can also follow me on Noble Scribe on YouTube and also Dia Dash. I had to make several forums because I was only up for 1 month on Noble Scribe, and I'm currently on a 2-week ban for speaking honestly and was censored because of warning people against, I'll call it the morbid 19 sewing needle. We'll call it that, right? Because the algorithms pick up on everything that you talk about, which, yeah, we can all see that. So I think I have 2 more days before I can upload content. I'm on my last strike on Noble Scribe, so I'm going to give it my best shot. I know what triggers these demon bots, so I will try to be more careful in how I discuss things, because I don't want the message to be lost in translation, and I don't want to ruin an opportunity to speak to the public about issues that matter, and makes some correlations of my own, and then collectively we can all solve a lot of problems of what's going on, and or at least gain some understanding of the madness that's going on in this chaotic world. We all can feel it together, I'm sure. I wanted to talk about this phenomenon in computing. I have a background in forensic analysis, information technology in college. Computer forensics is the term of the program, so a lot of these words are familiar to me, some are new, so we'll go into it, because when you study science in any of its forms, you'll find that the deeper you get into it, the more you'll start treading into the spiritual realm. It's like a full circle. So I don't understand how any so-called true scientific people could be atheists or whatever. It's obvious they're just promoting propaganda. They probably have 3 or 4 false idols that they follow, fake scientists on TV. A lot of these people are just actors claiming to be whatever profession, and they're just speaking from the same script. Because if you go back a few generations, all the greats, like Nietzsche and all them, the philosophers, they knew about other realms and whatnot. So Shakespeare and all that, they were actually quite spiritual and made very profound statements, either way, right? So I'll read this because there's a lot going on in the economy, and algorithms seem to run everybody's life now, it seems like, because everybody is connected via electronics, right? We all have an account. So we are being monitored. There are systems in the background on your computer that are doing things that you couldn't possibly know. So we're going to read a little about this, and there's a couple of books that I didn't even know that was out, and I was reading the plot lines on it, and it was very reminiscent of the times that we're living in now. So I'm just going to make this quick, make a few points, maybe put this link, and if it's not something that you guys heard of before, then maybe it's something somebody else can pick up on and continue with. I'll see how far I can go with it, but if other people are interested. I don't believe I heard this from anyone anywhere. This is something I stumbled upon on my own, so I wanted to make a video addressing it. In multitasking, there's a term called Daemon or demon in computing. Can you believe it? I can. In multitasking computer operating systems, a daemon is a computer program that runs as a background process rather than being under the direct control of an interactive user. Traditionally, the process names of a daemon end with the letter D for clarification that the process is in fact a daemon, and for differentiation between a daemon and a normal computer program. For example, system lodged is a daemon that implements system login facility. An SSHD is a daemon that serves incoming SSH connections, which is a secure shell protocol. In a Unix environment, the parent process of a daemon is often, but not always, the init process. Init is the first process started during booting of the computer system. So that's a term, init. So that would be the first application booted. Okay, it's good to know. A daemon is usually created either by a process forking a child process and then immediately exiting, thus causing init to adopt the child process, or by the init process directly launching the daemon. In addition, a daemon is launched by forking and exiting, typically must perform other operations such as disassociating the process from any controlling terminal, TTY. Such procedures are often implemented in various convenience routines, such as daemon 3 in Unix. Systems often start daemons at boot time that will respond to network requests, hardware activity, or other programs by performing some task. Daemons such as cron, that's an interesting word, the software utility cron, also known as cron job, is a time-based job schedule in Unix like computer operating systems. So that's an interesting word. May also perform defined tasks at scheduled times. Okay, now let's look at the terminology part. The term was coined by the programmers at MIT Project MAC, which is a research institute at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, formed by the 2003 merger of the Laboratory for Computer Science and the Artificial Intelligence Laboratory. That's a place I'm going to have to research. They took the name from Maxwell's Daemon. Isn't that funny? Because that word Maxwell is all over the news for certain Illuminati families. So I find that very intriguing. An imaginary being from a thought experiment that constantly works in the background sorting molecules. See that? Unix systems inherited this terminology. Maxwell's daemon is consistent with Greek mythology's interpretation of a daemon as a supernatural being working in the background with no particular bias towards good or evil. That's a straight lie. However, BSD and some of its derivatives have adopted a Christian daemon as their mascot rather than a Greek daemon. It's so weird. And it'll show that there's so-called, they're all pretty bad, or like there's some that could be indifferent, and we'll go into that. The word daemon is an alternative spelling of, well, the word Daemon, if you call it Daemon, is an alternative spelling of demon and is pronounced ddɪmən. So for anybody who thinks it's not, pronounced, it's not a real demon. Yeah, it is. In the content of computer software, the original pronunciation has drifted to Daemon for some speakers. Yeah, to try to hide it, doesn't matter. Alternative terms for Daemon are service, used in Windows from Windows NT onwards, and later also in Linux. Started task IBM Z/OS, and ghost job. Ooh, ghost job, see? XDS, UTS. Daemons that connect to a computer network are examples of network processes. This is very interesting because a lot of times you see how like these electronics have a mind of its own. I remember one time my printer just started going on and off on its own, and it was funny because it was like printing out all this stuff with like weird symbols with like hearts, smiley faces, and exclamation points, but it was literally like 500 pages of just that. It was like talking in its own language to me. It was really strange. It's a good thing I have a sense of humor about these things. So you're like, Maxwell's Daemon, what's that about? Because that's where they got the name from. So this piqued my interest even more and printed all this out. But I wanted to like zoom in on this. I don't even know how to zoom in on this thing. It's terrible. But if you go to Maxwell's Daemon and you look up in these two, there's a schematic figure of Maxwell's Daemon thought experiment. And they literally have a picture of this little green entity with a pitchfork. It's made of whatever energy and like is literally in the computer or whatever program doing what it do. So I thought that was really funny. So it says Maxwell's Daemon is a thought experiment that would hypothetically, violate the second law of thermodynamics. It was proposed by the physicist James Clerk Maxwell in 1867. In the thought experiment, a demon controls a small, massless door between two chambers of gas. As individual gas molecules or atoms approach the door, the demon quickly opens and closes the door to allow only fast-moving molecules to pass through in one direction, and only slow-moving molecules to pass through in the other. Because the kinetic temperature of a gas depends on the velocities of its constituent molecules, the demon's actions cause one chamber to warm up and the other to cool down. This would decrease the total entropy of the two gases without applying any work, thereby violating the second law of thermodynamics. The concept of Maxwell's Daemon has provoked substantial debate in the philosophy of science and theoretical physics, which continues to the present day. It stimulated work on the relationship between thermodynamics and information theory. Most scientists argue on theoretical grounds that no practical device can violate the second law in this way. Other researchers have implemented forms of Maxwell's Daemon in experiments, though they all differ from the thought experiment to some extent, and none have been shown to violate the second law. I mean, this really goes very deep, but I'll just make the connections that I made. So I clicked on Greek mythology because that was their interpretation, but that is an eyeful all in itself, and it does tell you they do plague and torment mankind and play tricks and origin of the world and the gods. It's funny how you're in the science realm. We're talking about information processing and computing, and one would not think that we would make such a leap back to Greek mythology and demons and minor deities or whatever, and you got the words like Cronus and stuff, and then we just saw that other, cron word in the computing language. So you see how the more you go into it, so for any of the atheist scientists, I mean, it's ridiculous because when you're dealing with spiritual people, they're very highly scientific, actually, because the deeper you go in to these rabbit holes and study and you follow words have origin, you get the whole story just researching words. I always had a fondness for reading the dictionary and all that, and I'm glad I did, because you get such a deep understanding. You'll notice like each word will have paragraphs and paragraphs of definitions. You can sit there for days and days learning about the world just through words. Okay, so words do have significant value to understanding. So we can go all into this, yes. But I wanted to go, what was the, I think this is not where I wanted to go. It's the term demon, because there was a novel. Not sure if it was here. I guess I'll have to find it, because there was a point where I clicked. I forget where it took me there, but it was really like boom, boom, boom. So I'll just go back to this word, Daemon novel series, because this was connected. I forget what I clicked on, but it was literally, I clicked on something from here, maybe, underneath it was showing like different types of sources for Daemon, and this came up, this novel series. I've never heard of this before, but it's very interesting. I have it in my Amazon cart. I'd like to purchase this, and then the follow-up book called Freedom. It's by Daniel Suarez. Okay, we can look him up real quick, just so you understand. He was born in December 21st, 1964. Daniel is an American information technology consultant turned author. He initially published under the pseudonym Leonid Zeros, and that's his name spelled backwards. But he has a lot of really interesting literary works. A book called Daemon from 2006, a book called Freedom, 2010. We'll read the plots real quick. Kill Decision. A lot of this is about all, because you know how they're talking about all these cyber attacks and all that. Well, a lot of it is coming from the internal sources, okay, from within government and corporations and evil entities, because apparently the in a lot of books and whatnot, a lot of it is what's going on in reality. It is just writing what they went through. All writers are told to write what they know, what they experience and stuff. So even this person felt the need to construct a pseudonym, maybe for fear of retaliation for speaking out on what goes on in the dark shadows that people don't see. There's another good book, Influx, 2014. The page doesn't even exist, so that makes me want to see it more. Change Agent, 2017. Delta 5, 2019. Okay, so those are really good. Check him out. That's his pen name, okay? His genre is science fiction, but which we know is really reality. They call reality science fiction. They say the science fiction is real, or whatever, or science, or the mainstream science is science fiction. Because a lot of the stuff you get in science, right, like the moon landing, the so-called moon landing, they were in science fiction stories decades before the so-called news events happened in our real timeline. So that's pretty interesting. So this book is called Daemon, and the plot is very interesting. It says, upon publication of the obituary for Matthew A. Sobel, a brilliant computer programmer and CTO of Cyberstorm Entertainment, a demon is activated. Sobel, dying of brain cancer, was fearful for humanity and began to envision a new world order. The demon becomes his tool to achieve that vision. The demon's first mission is to kill two programmers, Joseph Pavlos and Chopra Singh, who worked for Cyberstorm Entertainment and unknowingly helped in the creation of the demon. The program secretly takes over hundreds of companies and provides financial and computing resources for recruiting real-world agents and creating Auto M8s, computer-controlled driverless cars used as transport and occasionally as weapons. Razorbacks, sword-wielding robotic riderless motorcycles. specifically designed as weapons and other devices. The Daemon also creates a secondary online web service hidden from the general public, dubbed the Dark Net, which allows Daemon operatives to exchange information freely. Daemon implements a kind of government by algorithm. This is where we're at, wow, inside the community of its recruited operatives. What follows is a series of interlocking stories following the main characters. And you can go into it. It says, film adaptation. Walter F. Parks, who produced the 1983 film War Games, has optioned the film rights to ddɪmən with Paramount Pictures, but they likely reverted to Suarez on December 8th, 2012. So I'm not sure if they even did a rendition, because this is too true to life. They can't make this stuff up. Everyone's talking about cryptocurrency and being plugged into the system. I mean, whew. It already says, like, there is nobody at the, like, in the ship, there's nobody at the wheel. It's all algorithms. It's literally all AIs. Like, if you speak against certain things, they try to get you. But this is a really fascinating book, guys. And Freedom is the follow-up, even more interesting. I'll read the plot quickly. The sequel picks up shortly after the end of ddɪmən. Sobel's distributed AI has already infiltrated the computer systems of numerous companies and governments. Many companies have surrendered either out of fear of annihilation or because they have been converted to the fairer and more efficient system using a kind of government by algorithm. While the ddɪmən is a technological creation, much of the work is carried out by human beings, compelled by the ddɪmən to change the world according to the vision of Matthew Sobel. Connected by the dark net, the human followers using Sobel's game engine for his award-winning game, The Gate, as a base, having created their own ranking system and economy. Online identities mimic an MMORPG. I guess that's a massively multiplayer online role-playing game that combines aspects of a role-playing video game and a massively multiplayer online game, with operatives doing tasks to gain levels and gaining access to new technologies and help from the ddɪmən in an effort to advance their communities. Numerous towns have slowly joined the ddɪmən's network as a means to improve their own situations and their society as a whole. The rest of the world believes the ddɪmən is still a hoax, due to the efforts of the U.S. government and its allies to appear to the general public that they are still in charge. In truth, the American political and economic system is collapsing, with the price of fuel and the unemployment rates both skyrocketing. As with the first book, the interweaving stories follow specific characters. Well, how much do you need to know? That's why I got out of the computer system world, because when I went to college, they had us go to Boston. It was, I think, the DA's building. It was like a top-notch computer forensic building where we would be working. And I was just thinking, like, oh my gosh, they were like in these cubicles, like going through information all day, and I'm like, oh, they'll have cancer in no time with all this electromagnetic crap going on here, this dirty electricity. But I also didn't want my talent to be used for evil, because I knew who the bad guys were, you know, and I didn't want to work for them. I'll just underscore right here with my pointer what I'm talking about. So I went into the private sector, and I'm, you know, independent and private, okay? and I'll use my talents for righteous and not evil agendas, okay? So, yeah, freedom. It says here, everything is under control, everything. And this is just something to think about when you see in the markets flailing around and everybody's like, what's going on? Well, yeah, I mean, you got these bots in control. I'm right now on a suspension for just speaking too much about, something that they deem wasn't with their status quo, because like that movie 1984, Ministry of Truth, they don't let you talk about certain things without getting hit in the hand with the ruler, metaphorically, so to speak, right? So check this stuff out. Yep, Daemon in computing. Yeah, for all the people who say it's not spiritual, it is all relative. Yes, it is. That's why your computer and your electronics seem to have a mind of its own. But this is something for, to really understand. There's like a list of different like if you see words like this, there's a way to know if this is running on your computer and to scrub it out. So this is something that I'm going to study closely, because when I was learning this stuff, we were learning, to look at hashtags and to see if information was altered and all that, hash values for people in the know. So yeah, there are certain markers that you can see, like what's a normal running process and what's an abnormal running process, and that's how we would pick up on things. So I still have all the books. I still like to keep myself sharp, so I can look out for stuff that is bad for people and put them onto it. There are different terms. It tells you the list here. I printed it out for my own records. So this whole list here, we studied a little bit of Unix in school. I didn't get too into it. We did the command prompt and whatnot, study different operating systems. But I guess you can check your different processes, and these are the ones who would be considered that. And yeah, they can pretty much hijack your computer. They can do a deep scan. They can, so I advise not to store all your information on your hard drive and to keep dumping it onto backup software like flash drives. I try to do that daily. That is very important. You don't want to keep anything on because you really don't know what's running in the background. Sometimes we download apps like this, video recorder right here, little things like that, so you always got to constantly go back and check and see if there was anything placed there, any type of malware. So I hope this was helpful. Please check out that book, and this book too. These two novels are really great. I bet just reading those two novels you can definitely learn so much about what's going on now, and to try to get out of the system, because it is crashing. And anybody teaching, to go back in and invest back in, just be careful. I'd be wary of that. Not a professional analyst, but I am an analyst, just like everyone else, one and the same. I do have a brain, eyes, ears, I take in input and I compute it, and I analyze, and I'm the type of person that can see the writing on the wall, and I wanted to inform people so they make smart decisions in these turbulent times. But this was Diana on Alpha 7, and if you haven't, please subscribe and share. Check me out on my other channels while Noble Scribe was still up. The picture is a flaming pen, a pen in flames, because I'm always taking notes. And the other one's called Dia Dash. Just in case Noble Scribe does get taken down, I have this forum and the other forum to put out information for everyone. So I hope you guys have a great day. I'll be pumping out some more videos soon, and until next time, adios. Bye, YouTube.